Let's start off with more perfect union. An unprecedented corporate assault is coming. Can it be stopped?
The Democratic Party used to stand up and fight back hard against these big corporate interests that are dominating and breaking our economy. That has changed over the past 20, 30 years.
Thank you.
The chickens are coming home to roost, and the working class is feeling like they don't have people on their side in government.
When? Before Ronald Reagan. That's when. Before Jimmy Carter, before Ronald Reagan. Anytime before then.
80 plus years of voting for Democrats, working class voters continued their shift to supporting Republicans in the 2024 election.
What we saw was Trump courting the unions.
Our workers are going to be protected.
But here's the catch. We reviewed Republican proposals for workers' rights and unions, and they aren't exactly friendly to the everyday American.
We're introducing the Colorado Worker Protection Act in January when the legislative session kicks off. It will put Colorado in line with the other states in this country that respect the right of workers to collectively bargain.
Like the rest of the country, workers in Colorado have to win an election to form a union. But in Colorado, the process doesn't end there.
Under Colorado's arcane law, you have to have a second election, and then in the second election, you have to get 75% of the workers plus one.
Employers will use the gap between a first election and a second election to union bust.
Dylan Smalls is a nurse for Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains.
This is why we need card check. Straight up. I will go door to door to help campaign for any representative that wants to institute card check. For those of you who don't know what card check is, it's basically the most pure, like, democratic way of forming a union. You get like that one person over 50%, you know, what's that 51% threshold? The company has to recognize the union and start negotiating in good faith.
His workplace experienced just that when they were unionizing.
By the time it came for our second election, we missed that 75% just by a couple of votes.
That second threshold can be almost an insurmountable barrier because of harassment, turnover, because of other things that we see, like captive audience meetings.
There was talk about the union becoming an obstacle between the relationship between employees and management and patients.
Because they lost the second election, Dylan's workplace doesn't have what's known as union security.
Not having union security makes it incredibly difficult to get everyone to stand up together.
I am so excited to be fighting alongside the workers who are here today.
After we had our press conference about this, you know, the governor expressed skepticism and suggested, you know, Colorado is better than 24, 25 other states in terms of our ability to form a union. But the translation there is the governor is just saying that we happen to be better than Texas and Mississippi and Louisiana.
Yeah. Low fucking bar. Unless you're in the top 5 states for being able to form a union, you ain't shit. Because the bottom, like, 45 countries, they basically are countries, the bottom 45 states, it's damn near impossible to form a union. Right to work states, ones that have basically, you know, put in measures like this one that make it impossible, that really get that second round vote or even the initial round of voting. It's so incredibly hard to do that. Also, infrastructure wise, just, you know, the physical act of trying to go to your neighbors, to your coworkers, to find like a place that you can, you know, meet up with to do your union rallies, right? To protesting laws, right? Strike laws. It's a few worker protections in a few states plus versus 0 protections in the rest of the states. Right. Yeah. Like I said, if you're not in the top 5, at least top 3, you know, if we're being like more realistic, there ain't jack shit for you. Still possible though, Chicago used to be sundown town for unions and a ton of work was done to make it one of the best. Yeah, of course, there's always like room to, you know, improve, and there's always like ways to get past it. It's just very, very difficult. But in regards to what they're talking about in the video, Jared Polis saying, oh, we're actually really good, and then not trying to improve it further. Typical Dem shit.
No, we're actually super awesome guys.
No, the floor is in hell. The bar is in hell.
I think that that's unacceptable.
Urgency to pass the bill has grown exponentially since the election. Major corporations like SpaceX, Starbucks, and Amazon have sued to abolish the National Labor Relations Board, which oversees union rights. And the new administration is likely to be hostile to its mission as well.
Based on the first Trump administration, it's likely that rules that protect workers will be rolled back. It's likely that enforcement will be done much less aggressively toward corporations that are violating workers' rights.
For all the criticism it received,
more unions exist in major cities than suburbs. I don't know about the ratio, but I do know that rural areas, surprisingly, in the Rust Belt region of America, have a long, storied history of unions. My nurses union is putting on a training so we can advocate at the state level, and I signed up watching your stream, and Hassan's has made me want to get more active in my union. Hell yeah. Let's go. Hey, listen, as a teachers union household, respect, keep with the good fight. Teachers union is one of the most powerful unions in America. Teachers Union, Nurses Union, Teamsters, UAW. These are some of the strongest unions in the country.
It's a situation where a lot of the norms at the federal level are dissolving, and I think it's a moment when state and local leaders need to really be bold.
There are more than a dozen states with Democratic trifectas where many of these protections for workers can be enshrined in state law, protecting them from any Trump and Republican repeal. Take heat safety, for example.
Oregon enacted a heat standard several years ago, and in the first year before it was enacted, there were 100-something work.
Hang on. Me being a gay libertarian, okay, I did read that right. I think unions are a must to keep people safe from AI and losing their jobs to it. Chatter must be thinking of libertarian in its original, usage. Someone who is just scared to say the word socialist. Enlightened centrist moment. Hey, listen. If you're out here supporting unions, I'm down for it, okay? I don't need you to define yourself. They may have meant librarian, yeah. Walmart's CEO Doug McMillon has said that grocery store prices will continue to rise in 2025. Of note, his compensation was $26.9 million, a 9% increase from the previous year. It is 976 times the median compensation of a Walmart employee at $27,642 per FT, Financial Times. Walmart's CEO says grocery prices will continue to rise in 2025 despite wishes for customer relief. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon says the price will rise. Said that inflated food prices will likely remain at inflated levels and perhaps might continue to increase instead of decreasing. Yes, because that's how inflation works. Y'all need to start stealing. I haven't paid for groceries in over a year. I'm being serious, by the way. In this hypothetical that you're talking about, Flunky, are you just putting your groceries in bags, reusable bags, and then walking out with a receipt you already have? Is that the move? I learned Spanish for a reason, to save money shopping at Latino markets. We have a lot of them in Austin. That's actually a good move, basically. I mean, I forget that I have something in my buggy every time I go shopping. I forget that there's something in there. What that is, depends on where it is in the basket.
Place deaths of heat. The following year there were 22, and the third year there were 8. So they really, really do save lives.
There are now campaigns that add them in New York and New Jersey. And in Arizona and New Mexico, they don't even require legislation. The governor's office can do it on its own. Here's another example. The Biden administration's expansion of overtime pay would have given a raise to 4 million Americans, but it was blocked by a Trump-appointed judge. But some states have already locked in those protections and proved they work.
There's a number of states that have set a higher overtime threshold, and businesses have adjusted and they've accommodated, and their economies are still working and people are still making a profit there.
In Maryland, some lawmakers, like State Delegate Joe Vogel, want to make sure that labor protections passed by the Biden administration, like banning anti-union captive audience meetings, don't go away.
We're seeing captive audience meetings as a tool of choice for union busters here in our state and really across the country.
Nearly 90% of employers in union elections use captive audience meetings, which are portrayed as quote-unquote educational meetings, but are often used to dissuade workers and scare them off from unionizing.
If they thought it didn't work, they wouldn't be doing it, right? So they know that this is an effective tool.
These meetings happen while workers are on the clock, too, meaning that they can be written up or even fired for not attending. Last year, Vogel introduced a bill that would ban these anti-union meetings.
I have met with a number of workers who have lost their jobs because of their refusal to attend a captive audience meeting as part of a union busting effort.
At this point, HR had conducted a meeting to talk about why a union was not in the best interest of them and the company or its employees.
When these meetings are deployed, when these tactics are used by union busters, the likelihood of successful union formation decreases significantly.
A number of states have passed bans on these meetings in recent years, including California, Illinois, Maine, Minnesota.
My jobs have had anti-union posters in the lunchroom. The job I quit before I went full-time on Twitch the last email I had with my manager, he was like,
is there anything, I can do that, would make you, want to stay?
And I was like, sure, you're not going to do it, but there is one thing.
He's like, okay, tell me what it is.
I was like, I want you to sign a pledge that you will support a union. He was like,
yeah, you're right. I am not going to do that.